Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's new English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV screen to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well let's learn English together. Merry Christmas, everybody! I know it's a little bit early, but there's only 3 days to go. Today's Thursday, which means that tomorrow's Friday, and the day after tomorrow is Saturday. Saturday, the 24th of December. Christmas Eve, and then, well, on Sunday, it's Christmas Day. And in the morning, we get to open our presents and start cooking Christmas dinner. Well, here in Hungary, the situation is even better. There's only 2 days to go. Today's Thursday, which means that the day after tomorrow, on Saturday, in the evening, we get to sit down to a fantastic dinner, and then we get to give people presents. Fantastic. So for the Hungarians, things are even better. Great! Hooray for Hungary! Okay, now calm down, calm down, calm down. I'm trying to calm down, but it's difficult. It's very hard. Okay, so here we are, in the studio with 2 days to go until the 24th of December. Just 2 more days and then turkey, goose legs, potatoes with onions, stuffed cabbage made with Savoy cabbage. Actually, I don't like cabbage or Savoy cabbage, so I just eat the meat. Anyway, back to today's lesson. Okay, well, yesterday we learned about the days leading up to Christmas in the UK. Okay, good. Now today, I'm going to read you a story, the abridged version, that means the short version, of Charles Dickens' story, A Christmas Carol. So, are you ready? Yes? Well then, if you're sitting comfortably, I'll begin. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there was a nasty man called Ebenezer Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge was a nasty piece of work. He was a miser. He liked money, but he didn't like spending money. In fact, he hated spending money. For Mr. Scrooge, money was something to collect, to keep in the bank, and to keep under his mattress on his bed. Also, Mr. Scrooge hated Christmas. Mr. Scrooge was so mean that he only used one candle. He had pots of money, huge amounts of cash under his mattress, and more money in the bank than Bill Gates. But he hated spending money. His clothes were old and full of holes, and he never used more than one candle. For Scrooge, 2 candles was luxury. Mr. Scrooge was a moneylender, a usurer. He was like a bank for poor people. He gave them money, but charged them very high interest. He wasn't fair to them. He exploited them. Now, did you notice the word usurer? That's the same type of word as university and uniform. Because we pronounce the first letter as U, not U, we use a consonant, not a vowel. Normally, as we know, if the first letter of a noun is a vowel, we use un with it. But if the first letter sounds like a consonant, then we use a uniform, a university, a usurer. Mr. Scrooge wasn't nice to the people who worked for him. He always checked to see if they arrived for work on time or if they were late. If his workers were late for work, Mr. Scrooge deducted money from their pay and put salt into their coffee at lunchtime. The people who worked for Mr. Scrooge also had to bring their own toilet paper to work. The people who worked for Mr. Scrooge hated Mr. Scrooge. One man who worked for Mr. Scrooge was called Bob Cratchit. Mr. Scrooge didn't like Bob, but he gave Bob a day off on Christmas Day, the 25th of December. He didn't want to give Bob a day off, but he thought that people would say bad things about him if he didn't let Bob go home. Mr. Scrooge thinks that his workers should work 365 days a year. There should be no holidays. That evening, Mr. Scrooge went home alone, again. He had a small, cold sandwich for dinner. Using wood to cook a hot meal would be a waste of money, and so Scrooge sat in the dark, eating his cold sandwich with one candle burning. This was a long time ago, so there was no radio and no television. Scrooge went to his bedroom, counted some money, and then went to bed. Scrooge didn't fall asleep. He couldn't fall asleep. Then, bing, boom, bang, bokoinga binga gomba zoop. Suddenly, a ghost appeared in Scrooge's bedroom. Blimey! Scrooge almost wet the bed! The ghost was Scrooge's old business partner. He told Scrooge to be nice to people, to spend his money, not just collect it, and said that if Scrooge didn't change, then he would have to walk about the place like a zombie forever and ever. Then the ghost of Scrooge's business partner left, and another ghost came into the room. This is the ghost of Christmas past. This ghost played a video for Scrooge on a portable DVD player. The Ghost of Christmas Past shows Scrooge a video on the portable DVD player. The video shows Scrooge when he was a young man. The ghost reminds Scrooge of what he was like when he was young. He had a girlfriend and liked his boss. His boss was very kind to young Scrooge. Then the ghost shows Scrooge that his girlfriend left because Scrooge loved money more than he loved her. Then the first ghost leaves. Soon after, a second ghost arrives. The second ghost is the ghost of Christmas present. This ghost takes Scrooge out of the house to lots of different places. The ghost shows Scrooge lots of happy people who are enjoying the preparations for Christmas. The ghost shows Scrooge's nephew, who feels sad that his uncle is such a nasty, mean man. The ghost of Christmas present also takes Scrooge to see Bob Cratchit's house, where Scrooge sees Bob's son, Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim is very ill, but he's also enjoying the Christmas preparations. The ghost of Christmas present tells Scrooge that Tiny Tim will die unless things change. The second ghost leaves and a third ghost appears. This is the ghost of Christmas yet to come, which is a funny way of saying that this is the ghost of the Christmas of the future. This ghost shows Scrooge what will happen when Scrooge is dead. After Scrooge dies, nobody wants to go to his funeral. Nobody likes him, so nobody wants to visit his grave. Scrooge is upset because nobody feels anything when he is dead. He asks the ghost to show him someone who feels something when he is dead. The ghost does. The ghost shows him a couple who borrowed money from Scrooge. Now, this couple feels something. They're happy! They're really happy because Scrooge is dead! Well, Scrooge doesn't think this is very nice. Still, the couple are very happy that he's dead. Then Scrooge and the ghost of Christmas future fly back to Scrooge's house. The ghost says goodbye and flies off. Scrooge goes to sleep. When Scrooge wakes up the next morning, he's a completely different man. The day before, he was a nasty, mean, stingy, penny-pinching, horrible man. But when he wakes up on Christmas morning, on the 25th of December, he's a happy man who likes everybody. He buys some expensive presents and rushes round to his nephew's house. His nephew is very surprised to see him, and very, very surprised that Scrooge is being nice to everybody. Scrooge gives his nephew and his nephew's wife their present. He bought an expensive watch for his nephew and a pair of earrings for his nephew's wife. Everyone was surprised by Scrooge's change in personality. He'd become the opposite of what he was. Now he's a nice, jolly, happy old man who wants to spend his money making people happy. Scrooge pays a little boy to go to the local butcher's shop and buy a turkey for Bob Cratchit and his family. Mr. Scrooge told the boy to buy the biggest turkey in the shop, and so Bob Cratchit and his family received a Christmas turkey the size of a blue whale. After the Cratchits finished their Christmas dinner of a turkey the size of a blue whale, potatoes, onions, Brussels sprouts, they received a special delivery from the postman. Mr. Scrooge sent them a Christmas pudding and 2 bottles of very good quality rum. So, for the first time in their lives, the Cratchits had a Merry Christmas. Bob and his wife drank both bottles of rum that evening, and the next day they both had a headache. Somehow, Bob Cratchit struggled out of bed, washed his face, cleaned his teeth, got dressed, drank a cup of coffee, and went to work, feeling like death. When he got to work, Mr. Scrooge welcomed him to the office, made him a cup of tea, and gave him a foot massage. Bob didn't understand why Mr. Scrooge was being nice, but he didn't care. Later on that day, Mr. Scrooge gave Bob a pay rise of 347.5%, and Bob fainted. After that, everything was much better. Mr. Scrooge and Bob became best friends and went fishing together. And the Cratchit family moved to Rojadon because all the best, richest people lived there. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. Merry Christmas, everyone. See you next lesson. I'm Gav Duncan, not Mr. Scrooge or Bob Cratchit. See you later. Bye.